I can actually feel the earth beginning to move. Arsenal's needle has finally hit the groove. It's actually happening, isn't it? There is now a sudden, stark realisation that this is actually happening. That result for Arsenal at the Hill Dickinson Stadium is so significant. It's symbolic, the way that it happened. The self-destruct button that was pressed by Manchester City. Pep Guardiola making errors. Guardiola, a man so well versed at title run-ins, suddenly making these errors. His side suddenly making these errors. His most reliable players suddenly making these errors. Like, you say it lightly, and I appreciate that Arsenal fans will still believe that they have to fully focus, and they will still believe that there is jeopardy. But when you aren't as invested, you can see that the writing is on the wall. You can see that there is an inevitability about what is going on in the Premier League title race. And Manchester City, they're just not about this life. The big, experienced players in that team making errors. It's so symbolic about the direction of travel. And do you know what? I think the first thing we have to do before we really do go into this is acknowledge what Mikel Arteta has done. Acknowledge the contribution. Give credit. I'm not yet doing the "you've won the league" procession. But the fact that they've got themselves into this situation, it really is testament to the brilliance of Mikel Arteta. I don't particularly like him. I don't particularly rate him that highly. But when he becomes a champion, we will have no option but to extend a courtesy to him that puts him in the top tier. It's out of respect. Once you become a champion, you become something else. You are forever a champion. You are forever seen in a different light. And he has taken this Arsenal team from, let's face it, at various points, a laughing stock to serious contenders. An absolute joke in Europe to serious contenders for European silverware. He has changed the fabric of the club. He has changed the identity of the club. And for all of that, he deserves so much credit. And look, it's not in the bag yet. But do you know what? I shouldn't have used that expression. It wasn't in the bag yet. If I use an expression Arsenal fans are going to far more prefer and feel far more correlation with. I appreciate that it's still up for grabs. It's up for grabs now. But Arsenal will be champions. I just can feel that it's happening because I cannot see a world where they don't win it. Look at the situation that they're in. Beat West Ham, win the league. Beat West Ham United, and you are champions. That's the direct trade-off here. If you go away to West Ham to face it's going to be difficult. It's going to be intense. It's going to be aggressive. It's going to be partisan. It's going to be tribal. It's going to be full of hate. West Ham United, when they get going, their support is vocal. Their support is aggressive. Their support can be hateful. And Declan Rice is going to know. But you take it, don't you? You take it. The reason why West Ham United is seen as being such a cauldron, the reason why they are in this situation where they must win the game is because they've been so woeful. So whilst you're playing a team who have to fight, they have to go for the jugular, they have to make it a serious encounter, the reason that they're in that mess is because they've been rubbish all season. So yeah, I can see how Arsenal fans could see there being jeopardy around the game at West Ham United. And I could see why maybe Manchester City fans are looking at that game going, maybe. But if Arsenal win that game, they've won the league. It really is as simple as that. The correlation is as simple as that. The ratio is as simple as that. Beat West Ham, become champions. And there isn't a manager in the world that doesn't take that sum. There isn't a football fan in the world that doesn't take that sum. Win at West Ham, a struggling West Ham, a West Ham that started the season with Graham Potter, a West Ham where the ownership are all over the place. Brady's just left. A West Ham that have been pulled from their true roots into the worst stadium in the country. Go there and win the league. Absolutely. Dream scenario. And people will think that I'm being slightly, maybe catastrophic to Manchester City's title chances, boiling it all down to one game. But I think that's what the accurate portrayal is. I think if you distill Arsenal's title credentials, it all comes down to West Ham. Look, they're going to batter Burnley. That one is a procession. That one is irrelevant. We don't need to discuss that. And maybe some people would say that Crystal Palace final day, maybe. No, trust me. And I think if you're from London, you really get this. If you're from London, you really get it. When Arsenal go to play Crystal Palace on a normal day, you're playing away at Selhurst in December, night game, tough. Their fans will be really up for it. They make life difficult. It's a great stadium, but it's a compact, old-fashioned stadium. When you go in at Selhurst Park, you're still outside. That's how old it is. And I think it's brilliant, by the way. I'm not saying that as an insult, but you go in, you're still out. It's great, but it's intense. And their fans can be right up for it. Not on the final day of the season if Arsenal are going to win the league. Arsenal going to win the league at Selhurst Park will be a home game. There will be a minimum of 25,000 Arsenal fans in and around Selhurst Park. Arsenal's support in South London is massive. I mean, I think Chelsea could have a claim to this as well, but I think that Arsenal are probably the biggest club in South London. In terms of the biggest support in South London, I think it's Arsenal. So Selhurst Park is going to be a home game for Arsenal. So forget that one. Wipe that one off the sheet. That's a big, fat tick. Arsenal sort it out at Crystal Palace. Burnley, we don't need to talk about. Now, West Ham, there's drama. There's drama, but if you are an Arsenal fan, it's a dream. You beat West Ham and you win the league. And I think that is just a dream come true for Mikel Arteta. And he's got themselves into this situation because he's done well. He's worked wonders. And he's done it his own way. It hasn't always been pretty. It's been ugly, in fact. But there isn't an Arsenal fan in the world that should care about that. Mikel Arteta most certainly should not care about that. He has turned his team into potential champions-elect. And then, when you think about who they're up against a Man City team who aren't exactly great. They aren't exactly flourishing. There is major conversations about them. Like Mark Gahey, I love. He's been amazing for them. I think he's a great player, and I think he's England's best centre-half. When you talk about who's going to start for England at centre-half at the World Cup, it's Mark Gahey +1. Mark Gahey, one of the first names on the team sheet. He has been the reason that the tide has risen at Man City. His arrival changed the complexion of the club. But that moment he had cost his team the league. It was up there with Steven Gerrard slipping. Like, it probably won't go down in history in the same way. But when Steven Gerrard slipped and Demba Ba raced through on goal in 2014, tucked the ball under the oncoming keeper, it cost Liverpool the league title. Gahey's ridiculous decision making. He's a million miles offside. Just don't touch the ball. He just didn't have a good game. And the reason that he didn't have a good game is because of the inexperience. The lack of composure that we saw on display there from Mark Gahey, it's not surprising. Like, gone are the days where Manchester City were full of elite level players who had been there and done it. Like, the relentless City side of with De Bruyne, Gundogan, Carl Walker in the side. This isn't that. This is a million miles away from that, in fact. That relentless team that they had. Raheem Sterling on one side, Riyad Mahrez on the other. When they ended up having a situation where they had Julian Alvarez basically on the bench. This isn't that. Like, starting the game at Goodison, whatever it is. I'm always going to call it Goodison, I don't care. Starting the game, you have Semenyo, hasn't won a league title. Kuzanov, very good player, but completely inexperienced. Gahey alongside him, hasn't won a league title. Got experience, but hasn't won a league title. Doesn't know how to win a league title. Those two are the two centre-halves together. You got Ryan Shirky on the pitch. He's a beautiful footballer. But he's not been there and done it in the way that David Silva had. Not been there and done it. And, Nico Gonzalez instead of Rodri. Like, Rodri is incomparable to almost any other footballer in his position. But the composure that comes, the confidence that comes with Rodri, it cannot be replicated by Nico Gonzalez, and I like him. But I tell you what, I just don't think that Manchester City of old, having gone 1-0 up at half-time in a must-win game away at Everton, the old team that I've just mentioned, Gundogan, Bernardo Silva, Kevin De Bruyne together, you have Fernandinho in there. It just doesn't give up a grip on the game in the way that this team did. Like, I don't even think that Ruben Diaz makes the mistake that Mark Gahey did. I genuinely don't. If you're John Stones, if you are John Stones on the pitch, you don't make the mistake that Mark Gahey made. Now, look, I like Gahey. He transformed City. I don't want this to be portrayed as me having a pop at Mark Gahey. I love him. I really do. John Stones doesn't make that mistake, though. Ruben Diaz does not make that mistake. And maybe Mark Gahey doesn't make that mistake if instead of Ryan Shirky in front of him, it's Kevin De Bruyne. If instead of Nico Gonzalez in front of him, it's Rodri or Gundogan. There is a lack of experience in this team. Now, look, you learn from these mistakes. You become a better player due to these experiences. You are overall a better footballer off the back of this. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't cost you a title. And Manchester City are now in a perilous position. Their destiny is no longer in their own hands. Look, they play first and twists and turns. I've been saying it. Twists and turns in this Premier League title race. Because neither of these two teams are like Liverpool and Man City were, where there was a guarantee that they're both going to win. In fact, this Arsenal team's probably not even as good as the Arsenal team that didn't win the league when they basically won, 17 out of 19? There are twists and turns to come. And Manchester City have the opportunity, don't they, to cut the lead at the top if they beat Brentford. But I even think that's a big if now. I even think that is a big if they beat Brentford. Because this team, look, they fought hard at the end and they got back into the game. And that goal by Doku could be amazing. But ultimately, I just cannot see how they can do it because the bare facts of the matter now, Arsenal are 5 points clear with 3 games to play at the top of the Premier League. And yet, Man City have 1 game in hand. But that doesn't really strike me as being particularly significant. And like I say, when you look at the players that are playing for this City team, there is a vulnerability that we do not associate with Manchester City ever. And psychologically, it all just feels like it's moving in the direction of Arsenal. Like, if Arsenal win at the London Stadium, that's it. It's done. They will be champions for the first time in, 22 years, over 2 decades. A massive club like Arsenal. 14 title wins for them, incoming. And you have to give them credit. You really do have to give them credit. But Manchester City shot themselves in the foot. If you're winning away from home at half-time, I mean, David Moyes deserves so much credit to fire those players up off the break. But how much of it was Man City just pressing the self-destruct button? Amazing for Arsenal. Fantastic week for them. And what a night tonight. Tonight, after the Arsenal game, we're going to be live on this channel. So the second that the referee blows a full-time whistle, make sure that you tune in. We're going to be live and direct, analysing all of the goings-on from the Emirates Stadium. I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you for watching this video. If you've enjoyed it, please give it a like. It would be my dream to welcome you into this community. So please do click subscribe, and we'll see you all in a bit. Ta-da!